you're helping people through carnivore lifestyle, mainly just having meat. That's what you've discovered helps cure tinnitus.
Plants are killing your ears. Drinking green smoothies every morning and you're at lunch and you're going, well, I'll have the salad. You are just ripping your health to shreds.
And you used to be vegan,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I walked into a mall and they were just eating meat on a stick and I was like, you mother.
You actually saw them eating meat?
The most famous vegan influencers in the world at that time. It was a guy and a girl. I saw them eating meat together.
A lot of why I'm fascinated what you talk about is you're helping people, I think, I don't know if it's changed recently, but through carnivore lifestyle, mainly just having meat. That's what you've discovered helps cure tinnitus, right?
Yeah.
Tell us, like, tell me what the cure is.
Yeah, let's talk specifically about one aspect of tinnitus, which is, what you put in your mouth. So first of all, there's many, many different aspects to fixing tinnitus because fundamentally, when you come down to it, tinnitus really is, with rare exceptions, is mitochondrial dysfunction. It's based on mitochondrial dysfunction. So I won't go, too much, just for the point of I could talk for like an hour straight on how the ear functions, but essentially, and this is going to really blow the minds of the people listening, but it's fascinating. Our world, you look around and you see, you walk outside today or tonight, wherever it is, and you hear a car drive by, you hear like, the engine, you hear two people talking to each other, you hear a bird flying by, you hear the wind, you hear the grass, you hear running water, you hear a door slamming, you hear a ringtone on your phone. Here's the crazy thing, that is actually completely silent. The world around us makes zero noise. There is no such thing as sound. There's really not. It doesn't exist. It's only vibration. And your brain is literally making up sound. This is not what I sound like. I don't sound like this. It's just the vibration, and your brain is creating the phenomenon of sound. Isn't that amazing? I don't actually sound like this. I'm just passing vibrational energy through the air. That's just vibration. This is vibration. It doesn't sound like anything. There is no noise. So it's creating it. Isn't that the most amazing thing ever? So
it's so really quick. If I'm listening to your voice, is somebody else's perception of your voice going to sound the same?
And that's a good question too. And I've thought that as well. It could be potentially slightly different. And the same thing goes for color as well. Like, how do you know that you're seeing the same color as someone else? You would never know. Because even if you replicated it many different ways, you would never know. So it's very, very interesting. Right? It's amazingly fascinating.
Okay, all right. So going back to carnivore for this, why is it that carnivore is helping people with these vibrations?
Okay, well, what it's doing is it's helping people with reducing inflammation. And here's the thing. How do you neutralize those free radicals? How do you stem and stop that inflammation similar to how you would stop bleeding? The way you do it is with antioxidants. And negatively charged electrons are basically a form of antioxidants. And the best way to get negatively charged electrons is grounding. So, walking on the earth, holding a tree, swimming in the ocean is amazing, getting the sunlight. You can get it from, you can actually get antioxidants from uric acid from meat as well. Here's the thing, and we can go back to meat because I know you want to talk about this. How many times have you heard from people, the best way to get antioxidants is from a mango or from blueberries or nuts and seeds and legumes, and how you want to have a big colorful plate and you'll live forever. Jesus Christ. And what these people, it's crazy. I have so many vegans come to me who destroy their health and their ears. I'm like, it's getting out of hand. It's crazy. They're like, they come and they're like, I watched Cowspiracy and I had so much science in it and now my life is destroyed. And, these poor women are like losing their periods and all this crazy stuff. Wow. It's really sad. But they get.
Do you find that's more with plant-based people than anything else?
Oh yeah, that's the reason for it. Like the reason.
Okay.
Yeah, the reason they're losing their period is because they're not having any saturated fat and their hormones aren't working.
No, the reason for tinnitus, I mean.
Is sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, you-
Yeah, it used to be the biggest reason for tinnitus, but now the biggest reason for tinnitus is the COVID-19 jabs. That's the biggest
Okay.
reason. People are becoming deaf. They're getting hearing loss. Their organs are shutting down. Or lots of people are. Well, I don't know how much I'll say on this, but it's not good. It's not good. Yeah, you can take 500 grams of steak, and then you can take I see these memes all the time, and it's like intoxicatingly stupid. And then you get like a handful of like walnuts or something, and they go, look how much more magnesium walnuts have. Look how much copper they have. Look how much more protein they have. And it's like, yeah, but you can't access it because it's covered in the cells of a plant are surrounded by fiber. The cells of an animal are surrounded by cholesterol, which you need to function, by the way. Every single cell in your body, except for red blood cells, I think even red blood cells, is surrounded by, the membrane is made of cholesterol. So many functions in your body are made of cholesterol. Bile is made of cholesterol. The myelin sheath that surrounds your neurology in your brain is made of cholesterol. Your eyes need cholesterol to function.
Right.
If you're a woman, you need cholesterol. If you're a man, you need cholesterol. Your liver makes 70% of your body's requirement of cholesterol. Even most of your cells in your body are little cholesterol making factories. And you're going to sit there and tell me that you're supposed to take a statin when your cholesterol is low? Are you fucking stupid? It's crazy. These people are nuts. Anyway, so the thing with plants is not, I get people to eat meat, and that does help them a lot, but it's not just because you have a full amino acid profile, you have saturated fat, you have many different nutrients and minerals and in the right amounts that you need, in meat. And it's amazing. But the thing is, when you eat more meat, and I'm not like, a component of, I'm in the carnivore camp, or I'm in this. It's like, just eat whatever works for you. And if you want to put a
Right.
label on it, it's fine. But no one really gives
Totally.
a shit, as long as it's healthy for you.
It's like getting rid of the processed foods is the main thing. But yeah, back to
And that's exactly right. That's exactly correct. You got that 100% when it comes to tinnitus, because when you're eating these processed foods, if you're in America, you're destroying your mitochondrial DNA through the GMOs. Like, it's just just the craziest, because most people don't know this, but our mitochondria, and there's thousands of them, inside every single cell in the body. They're actually a different creature, if you will. They're a separate bacteria. And I have a chapter in my book on mitochondria, and I actually started off by saying mitochondria are our slaves in a way, because we give them nutrients and lipids and minerals and oxygen and light, most importantly light, and they give us back adenosine triphosphate, which is what we use to fuel every single process inside our body, from our autonomic nervous system, which is like our lungs when we sleep, and our heart, and our kidneys filtering our globular filtration rate, our vision, things like that, our hearing, in order to function. Like, at the moment, any human being on earth, people don't realize is, I think it's about 30% of your body weight and mine is actually made up of adenosine triphosphate, which is incredible to think about. So anyway, another bonus with cutting out plants, and this is one thing that, you try to tell a vegan this and they don't want to hear it, but plants are trying to kill you as well. And people don't want to hear that. Like, when you eat and here's another thing, when you eat a plant, there are many different toxins in plants. There's salicylates, there's goitrogens, there's oxalates, there's lectins, and all of them, some of them indirectly, but one of them directly, has a negative effect on your capacity to have a properly functioning hearing process, and the auditory regions of your brain should be functioning properly. The one plant chemical that I tell people to cut out of their diet straight away is salicylate. Now, if you make it in a laboratory, it's called sodium salicylate, but if you have it in plants, and it's very common in most plants, to be honest, it's called just salicylate. And here's the crazy thing about salicylate. Salicylate is used in scientific studies in humans and rats to literally elicit tinnitus.
really.
Yes, in other words, salicylate causes tinnitus. It's a fact. It is a actual fact that salicylate causes tinnitus. When scientists and audiologists and otolaryngologists and probably neurotologists too, want to study tinnitus in mice, they just give them a big dose of salicylate, and they get tinnitus like within an hour.
I was
And
going to say, like, why would anybody want to, induce tinnitus? But it's, I guess, to study it, right? They're just causing this problem to try to fix it.
yeah, and also you can give it to humans as well as long as they sign a waiver. It's like, hey, we're going to give you $6,000. We're going to give you tinnitus, and we want to give you an MRI and a CAT scan, and we want to see what happens. And a poor student or someone who's down in the luck, and I just tell them like, yeah, your tinnitus will probably go away. If it doesn't, tough shit. People will say yes to that because they're desperate.
Okay, so salicylates they're natural chemicals made by plants. Apparently,
Yeah.
they're found in fruits and vegetables to help protect plants against disease and insects. So
Mm-hmm.
they protect plants, right? So now you're saying that people that eat a lot of plants obviously get a lot of salicylates in their system, which is causing a potential problem with tinnitus based on the fact that it's used to induce actually tinnitus to study.
Yep.
And so that could
Yep.
be probably potentially this issue is what you're saying with plants, having a plant-based diet, let's say. So
Yep.
like one of the benefits of somebody having mostly meat, whatever that is they're not having any of this type of chemical, but they're also lowering inflammation as well. So, like what if I was I don't know, plant-based person who decided, okay, I'm going to just get rid of the salicylates somehow and just remove the plants. I mean, can you do that, or is it just in all plants? I don't know.
It is in all plants. It is, but it's to varying degrees.
Yeah.
For example, like if someone said to me, okay, I want to cut out lectins, someone says I want to cut out lectins, I would say, well, okay, you have to eat nothing but meat. And they go, oh, but I still want to eat some plants. And I go, okay, if you want to, you can. And I'd tell them to just cut out things like nightshade, tomato, and cucumber. Nightshade being a family of plants like capsicum and bell pepper. I'd tell them to cut those out, and as well as tomato skin and capsicum. But you can still eat walnuts and get lectins. And if someone says to me, okay, I want to cut out oxalate, and oxalate plays a big role in tinnitus too, because oxalate binds with calcium, and there's plenty of calcium within the cochlea. There's plenty of it there, okay? It binds with the calcium inside of the cochlea and the nerves that connect the vestibular cochlear nerve that connects the cochlear and vestibular system to the auditory region of the brain. It binds with calcium, it goes there, it goes to the base of the nerve cells, and it's actually being studied now. It's something called oxalate-induced polyradiculopathy, which is basically a fancy way of saying plants are killing your ears. It's literally what they do. Like when you eat plants and you get these things in your bodies, like phytic acid, salicylate, oxalate, goitrogen is another one. It goes to your thyroid and prevents iodine, which is an essential trace mineral that you need, from getting into your thyroid and parathyroid. And this is especially poignant to understand for women because women's thyroid is twice as big. But and it helps regulate and modulate the hormonal function of the body and stress responses. So if you're a woman and you're drinking green smoothies every morning and you're at lunch and you're going, oh, I'm going to be good, I won't have like the eggs or whatever, I'll have the salad, you are just ripping your health to shreds. You are just and it's unfair because it's not even their fault, because they go to the doctors or they go to the internet and they go to the experts and they listen to people like, these ridiculous fucking idiots on YouTube who go like, oh, you can get so much protein from walnuts and you should have a varied diet. And it's like, on what fucking planet, what point to the other animal that just has like a varied diet? No, we are an animal just because we can, talk and communicate in a sophisticated manner doesn't mean that we still don't have a digestive system that has certain requirements and needs certain exclusions. Like every other animal on the planet will just eat one thing, with some exceptions. Like, for example, a bear is omnivorous, but it's not eating like 60 different things. Like, it's crazy to me, I live in Thailand here, and I sometimes go across to Indonesia, and I'll see like, a person, unfortunately, it's usually women. I don't know, they want to be healthy, it's fine. But they sit down and they have like an acai bowl, like
Yeah.
SASAI. And it's like, oh my God. It's like legumes, nuts, seeds, quinoa, chia seeds, mango, papaya, maple syrup, and it's like that is just it's like 50 different ingredients. It's so bad for you. It's not good for you. It's just like a huge sugar spike. It's a huge bout of inflammation. You're probably going to have digestive problems. Your colon is probably taking a beating. It's going to affect your thyroid. It's going to affect your kidney filtration rate. Now, don't get me wrong. Plants have and I'm kind of rambling, interrupt me at any time, but don't get me wrong here, plants definitely have a use. I still have plants, I do.
Okay.
Rarely though, and for specific reasons, because my view is that meat is food for humans, but plants are medicine. Like if you have, there's many different causes for mitochondrial dysfunction in the body. It's not just continual noise exposure with a lack of antioxidants that can cause tinnitus, but that can. Stress, mold, blue light, medications, all these things can cause tinnitus. So plants can help you with those things. So if you have a parasitic infection or you have a mold problem or something like that, there are herbs like clove, wormwood, garlic, all these different things which can kill those parasites amazingly. Meat can't do that. Eggs, meat.
Well, see, that's interesting to me. I want to talk about that because my friend who has had tinnitus, right, who when he has plants and or sugar, typically processed sugar, right, which it causes inflammation, right? That seems to bring back his ringing. When he goes basically 100% carnivore, it goes away.
Yeah.
He gets silence.
Hmm.
And so, what we also started figuring out too was mold was present in the place that he was staying,
Yeah.
which is like something I feel like more and more people are starting to figure out. Mold's like this crazy thing, and it just
It's a big
rips
problem.
apart people's health.
Hmm.
But when he got away from the mold, it obviously improved. But when he ate a carnivore diet and had, let's say, had more mold around him at the time, it seemed to like mm, lower the side effects of mold when he had more of a carnivore diet, not plants. Is that what you see?
Yeah, definitely. Because when I say plants are medicine, what I don't mean is like sitting down and having a salad with tomato and capsicum and
Okay.
carbohydrates. I mean like taking
Caesar salad.
taking like a supplement of like pressed pills with like
Okay.
pre-made and that sort of thing, and you can have essential oils like thyme, basil,
Right.
coriander, rosehip, those sorts of things. But to your friend's situation with the mold, and I know who you're talking about, obviously, the musician.
Mhm.
To your friend's point
Mhm.
with the mold, mold actually feeds off of carbohydrates and things like that. Sure, mold can
Yeah.
feed off of ketones as well. Mold has been around for longer than we have. It's very adept.
Yeah.
It can live in wood in your home. It can live in your sinuses. It's very common for mold to live. Like your sinuses are all here. It's not just
Mhm.
here, as you know. It's all around your head. Like if you put your hand in a fist, maybe not me because my hand is so big, but if you put your hand in a fist, especially as a woman, it's a bit smaller. That area there, that like tennis ball shape, is how much
Mhm.
space is inside the front of your face where your sinuses are. It's quite a lot of space. So a lot of
Mhm.
mold loves to go in your sinuses because it has access to the outside world and it can spread its mycotoxins and build other colonies as you go. And it's crazy.
And
Like,
that can cause tinnitus,
yeah, well,
right?
what mold does is it actually wants to kill you. Mold wants you dead in the ground. It's crazy. And it wants to kill you and eat you. Like you've probably seen a tree in a forest which has fallen over and it's covered in
Yeah.
mold. It's like and fungi. It's just like nature's cleaner. And what mold wants to do is it wants to, first of all, a lot of the nutrients and minerals that you eat, mold actually sits on the membrane of the cell and will consume those as well. And also, what mold does, so you have the mold and you have the mycotoxins. The mycotoxins are the problem, and you usually can't see them or smell them, which is they're very smart. These races or species of mold rather. And what the mycotoxins do is they target, again, the mitochondria. They love to go for the mitochondria because it makes you weak. And if you have less adenosine triphosphate, it actually weakens your immune system. And the problem with mold is it's worried about those white blood cells. And what mold also does is it can target your bone marrow because it knows your bone marrow is where the white and red blood cells come from. And it wants you weak. It wants you not moving much. It doesn't want you to go in the sunlight. It doesn't want you grounding. Isn't that, there's books on this and there's literature on this. It's amazing. But
It's so fascinating.
it's,
That whole
it's,
thing, that whole world is beyond us.
it's,
We don't understand.
it's amazing. And what you're saying before about, I just want to tell the people listening and as well, you as well, I see probably about 80% of the people who come to me have a moderate to severe to dangerous mold problem in their body.
Interesting.
Carbohydrates. It's
That's what
full
you were
of
saying before.
it's
Yeah, with people who eat a lot of plants, right?
nuts, carbohydrates are full of mycotoxins. They ship it to North America, and then some dumb fucking vegan is eating it, going like, "Oh, this is the healthiest thing that I can do for my health," and they're just poisoning themselves. They're giving
And
it
you used to
crazy.
be vegan,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so let's talk. Let's talk. I think
Yeah,
to each his own. I think if everybody's got, I personally think that vegans are vegan because they have a moral compass that tells them that's what makes sense for doing
mm,
good in the world, right?
mm.
I've talked with a couple vegans who they actually are pretty clear that they don't promote it for health. They actually say no, not the case. But in your experience, it seems like you were vegan and you're very adamantly against that now for health. It seems. What's up with that? Tell like what happened.
Yeah, well, I'll tell the whole story, but first I want to say to your friends, you're not helping any animals by going vegan. You're not. In fact, you're killing more animals by being a vegan. You are. Veganism is worse for your health. It kills more animals in more violent ways, and it's worse for the environment too. So you're doing everything wrong. You are. And we can get into that if you want to later, but I'll talk about my story. So so here's the thing. When I was younger, growing up in Melbourne, Australia, I had ulcerative colitis, which is essentially where you have like diarrhea all the time. And I was not a popular kid at school. I was like shitting my pants in school quite often, and like,
Oh man, that's
oh
rough.
yeah, it was
I'm
I was
sorry.
not popular with the ladies. I'll tell you that much.
Right, I'll do it.
Oh God. So and I go to the gastroenterologist, which is basically a stomach doctor, and he would say, no, 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 and I was eating like carbohydrates and junk food and processed food and pasta all the time and, just absolute garbage. And for whatever reason, I got a twin brother who was eating the same thing and he was fine. So I had a predisposition to it. And it turns out, I think, what that predisposition was actually mold, because later on in life we found out there was a huge mold problem in my cupboard that had been growing for like 20 years. So it's
That's
interesting how
fascinating.
everything ties in. So, I went to the gastroenterologist with my mother for years. He put me on Salifolk and steroids, and they were considering giving me a drug that would have stunted my growth. And I'm 6'4"
Yeesh.
now, so I would have been really pissed off if my brother. He's the same height as me. I would have been pissed off if I was like shorter than him. So I'm glad my parents didn't do that. Anyway, so I got to the age of 17 in year 11 in high school, and it was still a problem. And I was like, fuck, I can't do this anymore. I can't take these drugs. And my father was taking a similar drug, and it was actually giving him kidney problems. And he now has like complete kidney failure from these drugs. He's quite sick.
Oh wow.
Yes, it's
I'm
full
sorry.
on. No, 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 it's fine. And so I went on the internet trying to find a solution because, that was like, YouTube was really picking up. And, I found these vegan influencers like, I won't name them because I'm going to say something bad about them later. And I'm not going to name someone and talk bad about them personally. He's over Taylor Swift. But, I found these vegan influencers, right? And, it made sense what they said. We have the wrong shaped teeth and, fiber and, meat causes cancer and blah, blah. Ansel Keys this and Michael Greger that. And I was like, this is amazing. And so I did it. And I went raw vegan. So I was having green
Wow.
smoothies and nuts. And I went the whole thing. And I was having like olive leaf extract and all these things. And the funny thing was, I actually got better. I fixed my ulcerative colitis from doing that. After like a month, after like 10 years of ulcerative colitis, I got better. But then I start like, 3 months later, I started to get sick and go downhill. And this is when I was like 18 years old, 17, 18. And what I realized was the reason I got better wasn't because, plants are so healthy. And it was because I'd also cut out all the processed foods. I'd
Yep.
stopped smoking weed, which I was doing back then. I'd stopped eating the chocolate and the chips and the alcohol and the tobacco and just all this like sugar and everything. And I was just eating like 5 different things. And it was almost like doing a fast in a way because you're not really absorbing that much. And it does the green smoothies, they can clean the blood in a way. But really what it was I was cutting out the processed foods. So about 3 months later, being a raw vegan, I started to get really sick. I started to like feel awful and I was like waking up in the morning feeling faint of heart. And then I kind of came to that realization that I just explained then. I didn't get healthy because plants were so good for you. I got healthy because I removed the processed foods, as you said earlier when we're talking. And so I brought back meat and I felt even better. And I've never had to take a single drug, a Salifolk, ever in my life. And I'm 30 years old now, and that was like, 10 years ago. I went back to eating regular stuff, and I just was regularly healthy. But then tinnitus came around at the age of 21 from a combination of things like stress, smoking weed again, drumming, mold in the closet, but specifically playing drums. I went to like the best university in Australia for music. It was, a whole thing. And it came around again. And then, for 3.5 years, as I said before, I torpedoed my life. I was like a drug addict. I was like hiding it from my parents. I was thinking like, should I kill myself? Should I not do it? Like, I can't live like this. There's no hope. I didn't want to get the earpieces and habituate because that was just like admitting defeat. It's like, I don't want to be the guy I couldn't even hear people properly. I was like, just like crying every day. It was, oh God, it was just like, talk about a fucking pity party. But it was horrific how loud it was. It was like 10 out of 10. Jesus. Wow. It was fucked up. So 3.5 years into that, I was like, all right, well, I'm either going to commit suicide or I'm going to fix it, So I didn't want to kill myself, obviously. So, and then I thought again, like, oh, well, back when I had ulcerative colitis, my gastroenterologist said that, food doesn't make a difference, right? But then I changed my food and it made a difference. So maybe I should do that again. And so I went back to being a vegan again, doing the same thing. And it did actually help again with the tinnitus this time. And it brought it down from like a 10 to a 7. But again, I somehow forgot that no, it's not that the plants are so healthy. It's that you're removing the processed foods. And right. Lauren, how often do we see this with vegans now? There was actually, this was, I was 23 years old. And it was in September. And there was going to be a vegan festival in Chiang Mai, which is where I live now. But I'm not a vegan anymore, but I still live here. I love it. In Thailand, in north of Thailand. I ride a motorbike. It's like mountains. It's fantastic. It's beautiful.
Ideal.
But then what happened was, and I don't think I've said this publicly before, but maybe I have, but I'll say it now. Those vegan influencers who I saw, who were some of the most famous in the world, and these are people who have debated Sean Baker and Bart Kay and Anthony Shafee. These are these same people. I saw them eating meat in a mall. And I walked into a mall and they were just eating meat on a stick. And I was like, you motherfuckers.
You actually saw them eating meat? You swear.
Yeah. The most famous vegan influencers in the world at that time. It was a guy and a girl. I saw them eating meat together. There's a mall.
And how long ago was this?
6 years ago. There's a mall in Chiang Mai called Mayor Mall, and down the bottom, there is a little. It's like modern now, but back then it was kind of like hidden, because everything here is like open air market, right? So I guess they thought they could get away with it there. I don't know why they would do it during a vegan festival. That's pretty fucking stupid. But they were down there eating meat on a stick. It was like octopus or something like that. And I was,
are you sure it wasn't like how things look like meat or whatever?
No. This was meat. This was meat. I know what I saw. I promise you. And they were just sitting there eating meat on a stick, and I was like, unfucking believable. And so
Wow.
now, whenever someone says to me like, "Oh, I've been a vegan for 8 years and I'm super healthy," it's like, yeah, because you're fucking lying, or because you have like a genetic predisposition, which is probably pretty. I guess that can happen, but when I see these like, oh, I'm plant based or I only eat vegan foods, I'm just like, I just don't fucking believe you at all. I just don't. Fine, say what you want on the internet. That's great, but I just don't believe you. So anyway, that was disappointing, and that kind of sent me into like, I was like, so what do I do? Like, do I eat meat or do I eat plants and whatever? And so I started eating meat again, but partly because I plateaued, and secondly because I was like, well, if the people because I idolized these people, I like loved them. They're like, I was like, these people are like saving my life, and then
Yeah.
here they were just doing this shit, and so, I figured, well, I'll just do it too, and I got better again. And by this point, it was like 3.5 years into my whole situation with tinnitus, the whole episode. And I was like down by 50% in volume in like 3.5 months, which is just like, I was told it was impossible. Like the doctors were like, you've broken your stereocilia. There's nothing you can do. When your stereocilia are broken, the brain creates a phantom noise. And since you can't regrow the stereocilia, that phantom noise will be there forever. That's the teaching that they get from the pharmaceutical-based education at their university, that they just pass on to you, right? And so I was like, okay, well, that's disappointing, but, I guess I have to live with it. And so I started eating meat again. I started getting better, and I was like, and that just started me on like, it's a big story. It's in my book, but basically I went from Australia to Chiang Mai, Thailand, to Bucharest, Romania, to Tbilisi, Georgia. And I discovered things like muscle release and fasting and grounding and sunlight and all. I read all these books and all these different things. And I ended up stumbled upon the final thing for me was dry fasting, which is when you don't eat or drink for an extended period of time. And I've got clients, and I don't, people should speak to a doctor before doing this. And I don't even know if I condone doing it for this long. But I've got clients who had tinnitus for like 8 years, and they do like a 7-day hard dry fast, and it just goes away. The tinnitus
Forever
it
or
just
for like a little while?
oh well well, the last person who did it, it's been gone for 2 years.
Wow.
You
That's
can
crazy.
don't get me wrong, like if you make stupid decisions again, you can definitely get tinnitus back. Like if I go and live in a moldy home and start eating junk food and blasting music into my ears, I'm gonna
Me
get
too.
tinnitus. It's like anything. It's like if you have throat cancer from smoking and you beat it and you start smoking again, you'll get throat cancer again. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's kind of like that, like that sort of thing. So and then I started teaching other people. And back then, I still thought I thought I'd still regrown my hair cells because that's what I'd been told, right? And so I started going on like tinnitus forums and saying to people like, "Oh, I regrew my hair cells. Here's how I did it." And then people were like, "You're a scammer and fuck you." And I was like, "Whatever, it's fine." And I started getting people who came to me, and I used to say to people, this only works for people who've gotten tinnitus from noise trauma, because that's how I got it, and I thought that's what it was, right? And people were like, I got it from, chemotherapy or stress or a concussion. My first ever testimonial was from a guy who got it from concussion. It's still on my YouTube channel. Or I got it from, this or that or a neck problem. Can you help me? And I was like, here's what I did. Just give it a go. And all these people started getting better. All of them. And I was like, well, how can you get how can you get broken stereocilia from a concussion? Or how can you get it from a neck problem? Or how can you get it from, a slap to the ear or something like this? All these different things, or a medication, all these different things which didn't necessarily, really stand out to me as something that could directly affect stereocilia, which is in the cochlea. And so I did more research, and I started to realize that the whole thing, broken stereocilia causes tinnitus, is mostly based on nothing. And
Okay.
you go to an ENT and you get the audiogram.
It seems like back to so many things that were just keep coming up. It's all so disconnected. It's just
It's
layers of layers of layers of information where it's kind of like it starts kind of screwy and then because somebody was maybe paying for it or something.
Mm.
That's the foundation, and then it just stacks on top of that more and more, and it gets more and more ridiculous too.
Yeah.
And we just go with it, right? And we don't really question it. And then you've got 10% of the United States population with tinnitus, and they're like wanting to commit suicide and all this
Mm.
crazy shit. And
Mm.
I mean, I think your point is exactly what I like to kind of, I don't know, I'm fascinated by. It's like there's no one way to cure tinnitus. It sounds like it's almost
Mm.
this grouping of about 6 things, and I'm missing some probably from your book, but like,
Yeah, exactly right.
it seems to me like because we're animals, we need to take seriously sunlight,
Hmm.
right? We need to take seriously grounding. Mold toxicity is a thing. Parasite cleansing could be a huge thing. Like that woman you said helped her quite a bit. Fasting. I mean, when we were evolving and before we had all this abundance of processed food, we didn't have food all the time, right? So take a damn minute and
Mm.
fast possibly.
Hmm.
And then it sounds like too with what you're saying is like carnivore could be a solution, but mainly because it's helping to lower inflammation,
Hmm.
maybe for a while until people can maybe have a bit more variety in their food. And that kind of seems like it's just like cooked vegetables, maybe some,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
maybe mostly. Yeah, is that
Yeah.
right?
I just tell people, first of all, you have to make sure that you're not turning on the Randall cycle. So that's when you have carbohydrates and lipids and or proteins at the same time, and that turns on a Randall cycle, which is a nutrient absorbing inhibiting process, which also causes inflammation as well. So I tell people, if you're going to have carbohydrates, just like have them in the morning and have the meat at nighttime. But yeah, you can have like cooked vegetables and things like that. That's fine. You can do
Okay.
that. Yeah, yeah.
But
But
it's still
try.
fascinating.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
I just tell people to stay away from like too many carbohydrates and things like that, because
Like
all
pastas and
yeah,
grains and
yeah,
those kinds.
exactly.
Beans.
Because all it does is it just turns into excess glucose in the blood, and then you're going to have an insulin problem, the cell wall, which insulin carrying around, insulin coming from the pancreas, carrying carrying glucose around the blood to your cells. Your cellular walls are going to block off, and you won't be able to get insulin anymore. You're going to get type 2 diabetes. Then you're going to have excess glucose in the blood, which causes cellular death and again inflammation. And your body will turn it into the exact amount of glucose that you need,
Fascinating.
so you don't have any excess, and so you don't become. There's people out there, holy fuck. There's people out there who are saying that meat causes type 2 diabetes. Are you
Yeah,
fucking? Oh, I just
I know.
these people, man.
I went to a doctor actually a few months ago for the first time I got like new insurance or something, I don't remember, but I moved, right? So I went to this new doctor, didn't know them, whatever. And the doctor turned out to be vegan. Um, and he told me to stop eating meat because it was inflammatory and it was going to cause me to have problems. And I was like, I don't know
Oh my
about
god.
that.
What do you even do in that situation? Like, did you bother to try and like tell him anything?
No.
Or nah.
No, wait, no, I did.
Yeah.
I pushed back on it. I was like, I mean, I was just like, how do you feel? Why do you feel that way? And then he started telling me this research and the studies and such.
Oh yeah.
And then I was like, but humans evolutionarily evolved eating meat.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what we did. And then he just kind of basically told me that my cholesterol afterwards was quite high, which of course it was because I eat mostly meat. And
Yeah.
he told me to go to a plant-based diet as like the recommendation. I was like, oh man, this is kind of a lot.
It's.
But I mean, okay. So with all of this said, though, Liam, I really do appreciate
Mm.
you coming on. I know it's been a struggle for you to get on because you're so
Oh man.
freaking busy with
Yeah.
all of your work that you're doing.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Sorry about all the cancellation and everything, but thank you for having me.
no,
Yeah, I appreciate the sort of more casual interviews as well, because usually when people, and I have a lot of people who want to interview me, and I just say no to most of them because I'm so busy. But a lot of people just go like, okay, here are the exact questions I have, and it's like 6 questions, and I know we're just going to go from like question to question to question to question, and I'm just like, I don't want to just do that. It's nice
it's
to have like
weird.
a proper conversation like this, more casual. It's
Yeah.
great. It's been great. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I mean, it's
Yeah.
actually what it's like what's going on.
Yeah, so you can go to my Instagram, which is where I post, like, I'll answer DMs, and I have lots of testimonials and, information there. That's just Liam Stops Tinnitus. So Liam_stops_tinnitus. I have a YouTube channel of the same name, which is, again, Liam Stops Tinnitus. My first YouTube channel was called Tinnitus Treatment, so there's those two. And for the people on Lauren's channel watching this, come look at my content. And if you have any questions, just send me a message.